Hey everybody, I got the Emela-Ntouka done, and god damn, it took forever. Pretty much to cut it short, I will say that I didn't have clear coat, and the paint would kept rubbing off, but now it's good, and you know, it's a good thing, because let me tell you, I was dying there. I was like, god damn, it's taking forever to get this done. But anyways, I'll keep this portion of it short. So articulation-wise, it could turn its head from side to side, up and down. Its mouth does not articulate, as you can see, and its front arms, or I guess front legs, can articulate like so. They can't really move too far backwards. I know this one can move further backwards, which leads for a really good pose. Yes. And then, of course, the back legs can move as well. And then, last but not least, the tail has articulation as well. So, besides that, the colors-wise, the person who gave me the color inspirations was a man that went under the name of Nemanja. If you're watching this, Nemanja, thank you. It's a Nemanja, for anybody who's wondering, which I think it's spelled Nemanja, if I'm correct. But yeah, he suggested the colors of a caiman lizard, which work very well with this animal. And then, of course, the rest of it I kind of just made up as I went along. As you can see, hold on a second. There we go. As you can see, you have a scar on the top of the crest there, with more of kind of emerald type green running through with some red going in between the scutes there. Same thing on this side. You have the higher raised orbits that have some red with a little bit of a green mark around. The eyes were done in this. For some reason, it doesn't glow green except if you have heat towards it. And then, of course, I did the antler-like display structures on the side of the head with the same sort of green, made a little bit brighter with a, I believe, with a yellow marking around with a brown, dark blue, and I want to say silvery kind of spot right there. Same thing with this part. Done a little different, but hey, you know, helps distinguish an individual. Say if somebody copied this, at least you know that mine has this sort of kind of sloppy paint mix there, right there. And then of course with sort of a fading texture, ending with a dark, bright blue, kind of darkish, brightish blue. And then of course it got the stripes on the side of the body. Sorry, the stripes on the side of the. Actually, it has stripes on the side of the body, but more on that in a minute. Has a mixture of spots and stripes on the side of the face with a dark brown stripe right here running through and around the eyes. Well, not through the eyes, but around them. Around the horn, of which I actually didn't do a whole lot to. I just did some green paint rub off to make it blend in a bit more. I don't even remember where I got the horn, actually, thinking about it now. The trunk is done in a kind of darkish green mixed with blue, and it transitions to more of a dark blue as it reaches the top with flesh-colored nostrils. And here are the ear holes. Funny enough, I was actually panicking. I was like, shit, did I put ear holes on it? I need ear holes. But yeah, I remember to put ear holes. Can't believe I forgot at the time. Let me see if I could show you guys here. By the way, this is like the third or fourth time I tried recording a video on this guy. I kept flubbing, so I'm gonna keep trying until I get the shit right. So, yeah, here you have the body here with the scutes, with a mixture of this forest green paint running with brown stripes, and then of course you got the orange underbelly. Some of the paint kept rubbing off at that point right there, which frankly I'm cool with. You know, I ain't gonna make a big fuss out of it. It's whatever. I mean, it ain't like people are gonna be seeing that in photography anyway. You know, of course, that's just to allow for some articulation. And then, of course, I got the brown stripes running down the body with, them kind of varying quite a bit, with almost a sort of striping collar running around the neck, of which that has green spots as well, because I figured it would be kind of a nice fade, similar to these ones here. Not the best work ever, but I think it looks fine. Then, of course, you got the rather gnarly looking beak with the same colors as the mouth. Frankly, I did it that way because I just figured it looked pretty nice, Plus, considering these lips here wouldn't be able to properly cover up the beak fully anyway. Either way, you got more of a orange kind of mixture around here. Orange underbelly. The cloaca! You got this, you got that with the the orange kind of fading away into a beautiful emerald green, running into a more of a bluish green with the brownish lines running through with the creases of the tail, this large paddle-like tail, which actually helps them swim. Yeah, like a certain theropod dinosaur that people keep going back and forth on. Dinosaurs. Anyway, yeah, and then it got more of a lighter green on the top of the tail. Yep. By the way, this is glossy just due to the fact with the whole Mod Podge catastrophe. I can't, or not even Mod Podge, what is it, the clear coat. Lost my clear coat somewhere, have no idea where the hell it is, so I asked my dad if I could borrow some of his. Tried getting the cap off, ended up breaking off the thing on the side, so now that clear coat's pretty much shot to shit. I managed to cover the rest of the beast in clear coat by spraying it into a pot that I had, and then using a brush to apply it. That brush is now practically unusable, so that's fun, of course. Either way, hey, no use crying over spilt milk. The shit already happened. No point in crying over crap that you already did and you can't fix. And of course, you got these hooves that are done in more of a dirty partridge color. Which actually, I almost forgot to do the dew claws. Speaking of which, the dew claws are just part of the Mattel figure that it was a part of. I don't think ceratopsians have that. If I make another Emela-Ntouka figure in the future, it probably won't have that. And if I noticed that beforehand, I would have made it an extra toe just to make it look a little more normal. Although, like I said, I'm not entirely sure. Either way, man, I tell you, I'm tired. Just because I recorded like a 30-minute long video beforehand on this. I didn't like how it turned out, so I'm redoing it. And that's okay, because goddammit, I don't give up until I get a version that I like. Anyways, you got the fur-like proto-feathers on the back, which kind of melded together, but I'm okay with that, Gives it more of a kind of matted, wet look to it. Yeah. It's not bad. Overall, I give the paint job maybe I don't know. I'm not gonna rate my own animal. What the hell? I'll leave you guys up to that. Just a quick overlook of it. Obviously looks better from a distance than it does up close. As with all my creatures, Up close look at the eyeball there, for anybody who's wondering. Although I think I already showed you. I'll let you folks decide what you think overall. It has some really pretty colors, albeit a little sloppily painted, but until I get an airbrush, it's not exactly going to be smooth sailing until then. Which, hey, whenever I find an airbrush, I'll buy one. I'll buy one and I'll learn how to use it. And my creatures will look considerably better, I imagine, and I won't use up as much paint. But yeah, on to the, speculative evolution part. As for, this is what this is. This is a speculative, my speculative evolution take on an Emela-Ntouka, the elephant killer cryptid from Africa. I within the time that I took forever to do all this, I managed to make 3 papers, of which that I did illustrations for. Let me pull out the first one here. It is a evolutionary paper on pretty much how the Emela-Ntouka came to be. Wild, huh? I did a whole goddamn I did a whole goddamn page. This is probably my favorite out of all the pages. So the evolutionary line begins at the end of the Cretaceous period with a small ceratopsid species from Africa, called Epizonceratops, which roughly translates to survivor hornface or hornface survivor. Whatever way, I don't really think it needs to be specific. I'm not really sure. I'll pretty much just read this and then add what I have from memory. A groundhog-sized ceratopsid that survives, or ceratopsian, that survived in Africa during the last grand age of the Saurians, which, I just pretty much churching it up just for the Maastrichtian period. Semi-aquatic and omnivorous, the species survived the KT extinction event. Now, let me go into more detail on this. The Epizonceratops essentially lived in freshwater to coastal environments. It was semi-aquatic, obviously, from the raised orbits that you can see in the picture, of which it carried on to its later descendants, even the more terrestrial ones. And having these little protuberances, fleshy protuberances, that were able to suck into its nasal orbits or nasal cavity. It was almost like, what is it, a moray eel or something of that nature. It was able to fold into itself, which was also used for communication. And you can see a tiny horn there, little tiny horn. They also had the antler-like phalanges on the side of the face. They were good swimmers, pretty social animals, with pairs mating for life and watching care of the eggs, something that their descendants would keep. They pretty much survived the KT extinction event due to their small size and adaptability around aquatic environments. And roughly around the Paleocene epoch, they managed to diversify into a pig-sized morph and an arboreal form, which was around the size of a howler monkey. So both larger than their ancestor. While these branch-offs, I guess you could call them, would evolve, independently from the main line, splitting off and then going their separate ways. The main line would still continue to live in their ancestral ways, living in either open areas or forested areas, just avoiding mammals, living in small dugout burrows, and taking care of their offspring while eating pretty much anything. Once the thermal maximum happened, roughly between the end of the Paleocene and beginning of the Eocene, the pig-sized morph and the arboreal form went extinct due to their specialization, while the Epizonceratops survived. Two lineages broke off, a separate lineage becoming a medium bipedal predator and eventually ended up being the Kasai Rex, which I will get into in a later on video. The main line continued and evolved into an animal called Agriotomyrhamphos, which roughly translates to fierce cutting beak. A herbivorous ceratopsian the size of a tapir. Similar to its size comparison, it is terrestrial, though it enjoys being submerged underwater. They mate for life and both take care of the eggs. Now, it's almost like a penguin-like scenario where mostly the female does the watching, which I think they take turns with penguins, but for the most part, the females take turns watching, and then the males gather food for them and then continue the watch with the female. The female will go to pretty much go to the bathroom and do all the needs to keep the nest clean, while the male will then take charge from that point on. Eventually, the Agriotomyrhamphos went extinct due to climate change, competition with suids, specifically ancestral warthogs, and various other animals that were more efficient than them, but some of them managed to split off and headed further into the jungles of Africa, eventually evolving to become more aquatic to avoid competition with the forest suids. Roughly around the time of the Pliocene, a mutation occurred among one of them, a nasal mutation. The tubes that they would use to help breathe in water and other such environments, help communicate and such, would eventually mutate and evolve muscles. Well, I guess not really evolving, more metamorphosize With one specific individual, they would metamorphosize muscles via, what is it, inbreeding? Yeah, there was a few inbred individuals that managed to strike up this particular mutation, and oddly enough, despite most of the time inbreeding not doing animals any favors, this specific individual that had the mutation was able to partially control its snout, which also was longer slightly due to said mutation. It was able to knock down branches and easier scoop up water plants and such, and actually helped it survive, where it managed to mate where it managed to mate with its chosen partner and carry on said mutation due to it being useful. Over a few thousand generations, all of the proto-Emela-Ntoukas, which is pretty much what they were around here, developed this trunk-like feature, where it eventually got longer and, more dexterous, eventually evolving 12 different muscles within the schnoz, I guess you could say. They had a flexible schnoz, yes. Anyway, roughly around the Pleistocene era, they managed to move deeper into the jungles due to the world cooling, and pretty much got larger as a result of forest elephants and other animals coming into their habitat, and of course developing in a more aggressive side. So eventually, once the Ice Age ended, they evolved, or they were pretty much the modern day Emela-Ntouka, this animal. If anybody wants me to do the ancestral animals as figurines, let me know. I wouldn't mind. Especially the Agriotomi Ramphos. Those guys are cool. I wouldn't mind doing some art of them too, like the Agriotomi Ramphos. Maybe, what time did it live again? It was roughly around the Oligocene and Miocene. All the way down to the Pliocene. That's not bad. I imagine they'd probably run into hyenodonts and various other animals that they managed to survive against. Pretty much living for, man, that's actually quite a long time. Good on you, Agriotomi Ramphos. You made it for a while, and then your main line went extinct, and then your more aquatic descendants managed to survive, so good on you. While your ancestors later on split off, managed to survive till modern day. Well, I guess they still survive in modern day, but they're practically damn near extinct, which again, I'll get into in a future video. So roughly around this, as you can see, this illustration shows a male Emela-Ntouka bringing food to a female, while a crocodile manages to dive underwater, and there's a spoonbill, yes. Anyway, it's a spoonbill. A fucking spoonbill, yes. Anyway, so pretty much the Emela-Ntouka's lifestyle is mostly spending a lot of time in water, where they will either communicate to each other with frequencies used by their schnoz, the snout, long snout, which is more of a proto-trunk, considering it doesn't really have the full usages that other animals with long trunks have. Again, while an elephant has some 40,000 muscles in their trunk, the Emela-Ntouka only has 12, and as such are not able to grasp with the sort of fingers at the end of the trunk, of which some individuals have and some don't. This one definitely having it. What they lack in general dexterity, they make up in sense of smell, having one of the best senses of smell of the animal kingdom, being able to track things down from miles and miles. More specifically, I guess maybe around anywhere from 20 to 30 miles, being able to smell stuff away. And with a certain wind current, being able to track stuff from 70 to 100 miles away, just based off of the smells alone. Rather impressive for, again, a reptile that didn't even have a mobile trunk moving in the beginning of their evolution. They have higher placed orbits, which were also gained from their semi-aquatic to terrestrial to, again, semi-aquatic ancestors, which helps them out a lot with seeing above the water surface. They don't have lips, per se. They manage to keep their beaks clean, again, by using their trunk to clean off any debris and pretty much rubbing it up against their beak. Being able to fold around the mouth, while again not being able to grasp on top. how do you say, their, hold on a second, their communication skills are very well adjusted to both as a paired life and a herd life, of which the herds can get up to 8 individuals, which is impressive for an animal at 2.5 tons and roughly around 12 to 17 feet long, depending on each individual. Quite a large, hefty animal, but considering that it is a archosaur and has hollow bones and air sacs, it is able to essentially be able to outmaneuver most animals that are around the same size and even smaller, being able to reach speeds of 40 miles an hour on land. However, they can't properly sink to the bottom of rivers like hippos, and actually hippos, when often encountering these animals, will prefer to run underneath water to escape them. As for the Emela-Ntouka, is a mammal killer and has a particular, almost instinctual hatred of large mammals. However, the instinct is more of a learned behavior that's ingrained with age, as they are not born with this specific instinct, although are often wary of mammals at birth. Wary, not hateful. That's something that's learned with either the herd or parents, particularly of large herbivores. And large herbivores that actually live in their region will try to take the opportunity to kill a baby Emela-Ntouka to simply save their descendants some time of being possibly killed. You know, think of the same way as like a lion kills a hyena cub and vice versa to take out the competition. Considering Emela-Ntoukas eat pretty much anything that's plant matter, being well equipped to handle both water plants, wood, full-size trees, which obviously they share with each other, fruits, all different sorts of things. Even eating grubs from rotten out logs, along with the rotten out logs to help get protein. And of course, visiting mineral deposits in the jungles, of which when they do, the other animals and participants will gladly vacate the area. Except for some particular species of monkey, which, believe it or not, actually help the Emela-Ntouka of getting rid of parasites, along with some species of forest mongoose. These two mammals are probably almost the only species that don't, get murked immediately on sight of the Emela-Ntouka, considering most other mammal species, again, are horrified of them, and let alone, move within the vicinity. Within the range that they live with gorillas, fear them for obvious reasons, while their small monkey cousins don't have such a fear. Some even coming accustomed to individual Emela-Ntoukas, even hitching rides on their back while they move through the jungles. Monkeys that befriend the Emela-Ntoukas are almost impervious to predation, considering most animals won't even come near these dreadful monsters, of which I will explain in greater detail in just a moment. Here we have the Emela-Ntouka elephant killer. This young male forest elephant, and that was currently in must, managed to make a horrible mistake that he will not live to make again. Attacking a particularly large Emela-Ntouka bull, of which the Emela-Ntouka probably would have tried to win for him regardless if the elephant instigated the fight, but due to driven by 50% increase of hormones, the elephant charged the Emela-Ntouka, grazing it on the side of its stomach and legs, of which the Emela-Ntouka delivered a famous attack that the species usually proceeds to do when handling elephants, running headfirst at the elephant, ducking, and using its... Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Using its crest to help negate the tusk attack while lunging underneath the elephant and quickly thrusting its head upward, jamming the long horn that they have on their head into the elephant's throat. We're then proceeding to grab the elephant's leg with its beak and biting down on the bone, cracking and pretty much usually either crushing or even severing the limb in rare occasions. The elephant is left helpless and bleeding to death on the ground, where the Emela-Ntouka will proceed to stab or rip apart the poor animal until there is no movement left. a truly vicious fighter. Elephants will, on occasion, when witnessing this, will even take the opportunity to track some Emela-Ntouka individuals and pretty much will watch them on occasion from far distances, although most of the time this is not usually what happens due to the Emela-Ntouka's incredible smell, being roughly 15 times more potent than a bloodhound's, give or take. Some bull elephants happen to watch this behavior to order and to observe small Emela-Ntouka, usually teenagers that wander off from herds to venture parts of the jungle. Usually the bull elephants will take advantage of this and try to kill the youngster before it could reach its herd again, and then vacate the premises once doing so, stabbing the young Emela-Ntouka with its tusks to prevent it from getting larger and eventually developing into a beast that will possibly end its descendants' lives, so to say. However, most bulls won't even attempt this gesture due to the fact that Emela-Ntoukas have a mob mentality of sorts, which the ones that do happen to live in herds will often stick close by, and with a parenting behavior that's almost not on par with any other species. Sorry. Well, you gotta love, I'm trying to be professional here, and I'm failing horribly. With a parenting aspect that is almost not on par with any other species on the planet, if that makes any sense. The Emela-Ntouka is having a exceptional parenting strategy of pretty much watching over most species and taking turns. Of course, some youngsters do run off unattended, which again leads to these bull elephants seeking them out and destroying them. This does rarely happen. And ironically, despite being so aggressive towards other species, Emela-Ntouka rarely have any infighting. Males often settling disputes via their wide display of colors and non-aggressive tendencies towards each other. How do you say? Fights pretty much within the herds and other groups are so incredibly rare that, how do you say, Emela-Ntouka mortality from each other makes up only 2% out of the whole 98 rest of their causes for mortality. You know, pretty much, to put it in other words, more words that make sense, is that Emela-Ntouka don't often cause each other's deaths, to say. Like I said, they usually settle disputes between each other peacefully with their bright colors and loud bellowing noises. The Emela-Ntouka was roughly discovered in 1896 by Sir Darwin Hoover and his assistant Joshua Marthens. Both of them were making a tour into the jungles where they managed to discover a completely destroyed village with bodies of the native blacks piling up, where they managed to discover a horrifying beast of which the science world has not observed, a lone bull Emela-Ntouka, covered in blood stains from the countless victims that it managed to mow down. It then set its sights on the two, barreling towards them at high speeds, where they managed to take shelter on top of one of the thatched huts. They were running out of time, and with their rifles, they managed to shoot the animal's eyes out while it was making its way through the hut and chewing the support beams. Shooting both of the animal's eyes out, the Emela-Ntouka bull was outraged, running through the hut, smashing and biting everything that it could feel and smell, and it managed to be put down when it ran out through the side, and Sir Darwin managed to shoot it right through the ear into its brain. Sorry for the stuttering there. Don't do too well with the people side of things. They managed to bring a few parts of the specimen back with them, eventually thanking some of the natives that showed up earlier beforehand and afterwards, pretty much warning them of what happened beforehand, before this whole traumatic event transpired. You know, a sort of devil of the jungle coming to seek vengeance for a thing that a neighboring tribe had done. After bringing back parts of the beak, skin, fur, and what is it? And one of the I don't really know what you call these face phalanges. The scientific community was astounded. Uh, DNA evidence that they had at the time showed that it was nothing of any animal that had ever been observed beforehand. Some of the people even thought it was a hoax. However, in a how do you say? What do you call them? Expedition done in 1903 showed there to be a herd of these animals where most of the people doing the expeditions were killed after a charge of the whole herd managed to wipe out a lot of the vehicles. The people who came back with the harrowing tale and a photo managed to expose these animals to the world. People being stunned at the thought that this could be a dinosaur. Of course, most of the people outright refused it, considering its wild appearance not matching the knowledge at the time. However, eventually, managing to capture a drugged individual that was fed various fruits and plants, spiked with various tranquilizers, managed to, be brought to a station via, what is it? Not helicopter. What are them called? The Jeeps? Not the Jeeps. Pretty much large vehicles. They managed to load the animal up and drag it back to the nearest village where many of the villagers gawked at its appearance. And many of them went into their huts at the mere sound of the thing being dragged back. God, I'm horrible. Dragged back at, to the village. Of course, some of them couldn't believe their eyes of the beast that they saw. Once they managed to take enough photos and even a quick video reel, they managed to realize that what they found would truly stump the scientific world for a long time. And which it did. Logging efforts that managed to occur during in some parts of the Congo and rainforest were actually halted by herds of the Emela-Ntouka, attacking the vehicles and the men that were inside them, all the way up until roughly the 1930s, where, somewhere around, I think, 1939, I believe, yeah, where rocket launchers were more available to these sorts of people. They managed to successfully fight back the Emela-Ntoukas and continue their deforestation. Eventually, China and the other places of the world managed to discover these animals and started putting bids on the animals' heads, giving poachers these sorts of tank-stopping rifles and various other weapons that were needed to take these beasts down. Often killing a child or tying up a child member of the species while the herd would charge in to try to defend it. They would quickly wipe out the herd with dug trenches and rocket-propelled grenades. Over time, all the way up until the 1970s, their species had dwindled down to 15,000 individuals. By this point, the scientific community, along with various conservation efforts, managed to stop a lot of the mass slaughter, of which a number was roughly around 10,000 to begin with, was now roughly around 1,500 individuals left. Conservation efforts were mid to highly successful, allowing the species to regain back to 500 individuals, all the way down to present day now. Drone surveillance managed to help to study these creatures, considering they didn't fear vehicles, not having much knowledge of them besides the crusades that were done on many of them, of which these particular individuals were not fully aware of due to instinctually moving further into the jungles. With drone feed, they were able to observe these animals and their behaviors, finding out that they were highly aggressive towards mammals of most kinds, except for the various species of monkey and mongoose that would help clean them. By this point, they realized, or a lot of people realized, that capture in zoos were practically impossible, being almost the land equivalent of capturing a great white shark and keeping it in captivity. The one or two times this was tried, the individual ended up dying due to either various reasons of it trying to break out and gore many of its God damn it, fuck. Sorry. Many of its helpers and caretakers, or simply killing itself by trying to bash through the steel and eventually causing itself so many injuries that it was put down. From that point on, mostly video surveillance from high planes and various other aerial craft were used to help pretty much take footage of these animals and learn more about them, since people studying them in hand in the jungle practically never worked. Even the natives of various places in the jungle said, keep away from these animals. They're highly protective of their territories and devilish when it comes to attacking. I think I covered pretty much the main basis. To give a quick synopsis, semi-aquatic, living in small groups or in pairs. They mate for life. They eat pretty much any kind of plant matter that they can grasp. Are not generally aggressive towards each other, settling most disputes with, displays and such. Incredible parents, I think I already mentioned that. Practically no predators once they're adults, except for maybe the occasional large crocodile. But even then, most crocodiles don't even dare come near these animals. Actually, thinking about it, I wonder, Gustav could probably handle an Emela-Ntouka to some extent, considering Gustav apparently took down a hippo at one point or another, except these animals having about 5 times as much aggression as hippos. So that was the Emela-Ntouka. I hope everybody liked it. Sorry for my flubs here and there. Like I said, I'm not perfect or professional in any sense of the word. And honestly, I hope all of you enjoyed it. And if you got questions, I'd love to hear them. That makes my day when people ask about the creatures I made. It makes my day. It puts a big smile on my face. Special thanks to Nemanja for the color. Just for the general color, what's the word I'm looking for? God, half these videos are just me trying to remember what the hell to say. Nemanja, special thanks to Nemanja for brain trying to process words. God, I'm a fucking nut. For the color suggestion. There we go. Fuck, thank you. God, that's like taking a big mental shit when you finally get it out. Special thanks to the manager for the color suggestions. Okay, I got it out. Fuck. God, that's like taking a dump. You're all relieved and stuff after you remember the word. It's like mental constipation. You're trying your best to shit out the words. And of course, special thanks to just everybody, especially Denny. Denny, my buddy Denny, he helps me out with a lot of these sorts of things, He always asks questions, and when people, when you guys ask questions, it helps gets my brain going, and he asks a lot of questions and definitely helps me out. He's also been helping me out with a certain special project I've been working on. I will not be revealing it until I got most of it figured out, so who knows, a year or two maybe. Anyways, I appreciate all of you watching these videos and sticking with me for as long as you have, if anybody's still watching. Probably not the vast majority of you. But to those who stick by me, thank you. And I hope all of you, and I mean all of you, have a wonderful day or night, depending on where you are. I don't fucking know. Anyways, see you. See you till the next creature, of which I will quickly show off.